some bedtime stories that I found online. I found two bedtime stories for you guys. The first one is a pretty popular story. It's called Thumbelina, 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 which is actually a movie I used to watch when I was little. But I watched like the Barbie version. It was like Barbie Thumbelina, Barbie Thumbelina. But this is just like the normal version. And then I found another one that's just like a random story online called Snoozerella. So I'm gonna start with Thumbelina, and then we will go from there, guys. We will go from there. I hope this allows you to relax, guys. Okay, let's get started. Okay. Once upon a time, in a magical world, there lived a tiny girl named Thumbelina. She was no bigger than your thumb, with eyes as blue as forget-me-nots and hair as golden as the summer sun. Thumbelina's story is filled with magic, adventure, and extraordinary things, and it all began with a special seed. One day, a kind old woman who loved planting flowers was given a magical seed by a fairy. The fairy told her that if she planted it with love, something amazing would grow. The old woman planted the seed in a small pot, watered it carefully, and sang lullabies to it every night. In just a few days, a beautiful flower bloomed, unlike any the old woman had seen before. It had petals as soft as silk, and a sweet smell that filled the air. As the old woman admired the flower, she saw a tiny girl, no taller than her thumb, emerging from its petals. The old woman named her Thumbelina because she was so small. Thumbelina made her home among the flower petals. She spent her days tending to them and exploring the tiny world around her. She made friends with insects and slept in beds made of rose petals at night. One night, while Thumbelina was sleeping in her petal bed, she heard the voices of field mice who had found her flower. They were happy to see such a delicate and beautiful girl and decided to take her to their cozy mouse hole. Thumbelina, being kind and loving adventure, agreed to go with them. The mice gave her a small bed and a leaf for a blanket. They shared their food and stories with her, and she became part of their mouse family. When winter came, Thumbelina's tiny world became colder and more difficult. She wore a tulip petal as a coat to stay warm and helped with chores, but even with these challenges, she was loved and cared for by her mouse family. One day, while gathering crumbs from the kitchen, Thumbelina heard a sad voice coming from the cold ground covered in snow. She followed the voice and found a small, injured bird. The bird couldn't fly and was almost freezing. With great kindness, Thumbelina brought the bird back inside and cared for frogs who lived nearby. Curious, Thumbelina decided to visit the frogs. They were delighted to see her and invited her to dance to their music. Thumbelina danced and felt the joy of the music in her heart. The frogs introduced her to their king, a kind frog who was captivated by Thumbelina's beauty and grace. He asked her to marry him, but Thumbelina knew her heart belonged to the open skies and the wider world beyond. One night, while getting ready for the wedding, Thumbelina heard a familiar chirping outside the window. It was her dear bird friend who had returned to visit. Thumbelina knew she couldn't marry the Frog King and give up her dreams. With the bird's help, they made a plan to leave the Frog Kingdom. In the quiet of the night, while the frogs slept, Thumbelina climbed onto the bird's back. With a powerful flap of its wings, they flew into the moonlit sky, leaving the Frog Kingdom far behind. Thumbelina looked down at the world below as they flew over forests, meadows, and rivers. She felt like a true adventurer, and her heart was full of joy. The bird brought her to a beautiful garden where they gently landed among the flowers. As she explored the garden, Thumbelina met a handsome young prince who was nearly her size. He too had been enchanted and brought to the garden by a fairy spell. When they saw each other, they knew they had found true love. The prince and Thumbelina were married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by flowers and whispering leaves. They made their home in the garden, where they lived happily ever after, sharing their dreams and love. And so, my dear child, that is the end of Thumbelina's story. A tale of magic, friendship, and following your dreams. Now close your eyes, close your eyes, and let your imagination take you into a world of enchantment. Good night, and may your dreams be as magical as Thumbelina's adventures. The end. Okay guys, that was Thumbelina. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I have one more for you guys. This one is called Snoozerella. Like Cinderella, but snooze. I don't know what that means, but I guess we will see. This is what she looks like, guys. Let's see. The Thumbelina one didn't really have pictures, but this is Snoozerella. That's what she looks like. Okay guys, let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a young princess called Maya. She lived in the kingdom of Dream Acre, a land filled with beautiful buildings and green grass as far as the eye could see. She lived with her dad and mom. Her dad, who was the king, was a strong and wise leader. Her mother, the queen, was so beautiful that she was loved across the land. This sounds like the start of every princess story, but Maya wasn't your usual kind of princess. You see, Maya could sleep anywhere. No matter what the time, no matter what place, Maya would find a way of going to sleep. Once, she and her dad, the king, were going for a walk around the gardens when she stopped to smell the flowers. When her dad turned around, Maya was already fast asleep, curled up in the flower bed. Another time, the queen was teaching Maya how to be Maya smiled and sat up straight. Then, oh no, she had already fallen asleep, and she even started snoring. The weather didn't change her ability to stay awake on the sunniest of days. During blustery blizzards, Maya would find a way to snooze. One day she was sledding down a huge hill with snow flurrying down all around her, going over hills so fast. Then seconds later, she was snoozing. Bedtime wasn't any different. Every night, her mom, the queen, would say, "Put on your PJs and brush your teeth, then I can read you a bedtime story." So Maya would go get her PJs and head to the bathroom. Maya, Maya, her mom would call out, and then she would wander into the bathroom to find Maya sleeping at the basin with a toothbrush in her mouth. Princess Maya was not very happy that she would fall asleep all the time because she couldn't finish a coloring picture and she couldn't remember the last time she made it to dessert. And worst of all, she never got to actually hear any of her bedtime stories. The king said, "You need to go to bed at a good time so you're not so sleepy in the day." Princess Maya said, "I've been napping all day, what's the point?" But she agreed that she would try harder. So the next time bedtime came around, Maya's mom said, "Time for bed." As always, Maya put on her PJs and started to brush her teeth, and she nodded off just for a second. But just as she did, her mom called to her out loud, so she woke straight up and headed to bed. But when she heard the words "once upon a time," she fell asleep again. The next morning, the princess woke up wide awake and full of energy. So she got dressed and went downstairs for breakfast. Her dad asked, "Did you sleep well, my little princess?" "Yes, Daddy," she smiled. Then she took a spoonful of her cereal, then another. It looked like it had worked. She had actually eaten a full breakfast and she hadn't fallen asleep. She was so happy. As a princess, Maya had lots of things to do. Horse riding, followed by dancing, then lessons on how to eat and sit like a princess. But most days she had never made it past breakfast. Now she was so excited as she put on her horse riding clothes and climbed onto the horse, and off she went. She was smiling and giggling and jumping over rails and galloping. Then it happened. Her eyes started to flutter and soon she was asleep. Thankfully, the horse knew to stop so the instructor could get her off safely. When she woke up in her bed and her mom and dad were there, Maya felt sad. She said, "I went to bed nice and early, so why did I still fall asleep?" Her mom looked at her and said, "It runs in my family, but there are some things we can do to try to make it better." Maya gave her mom and dad a big hug. Before Maya sat down for dinner, she said across the long table, "Mom, you said we could try some things to make it better." "What did you mean?" The queen said, "Taking naps is what I mean." Maya looked confused. "First, Dad tells me to go to bed early. Now you tell me to take naps. How will that help?" she thought. She was a bit cross, so she just sat silently eating it as she always. She got halfway through her dinner and then she was asleep. The next morning, Maya woke up sad and a little annoyed. Just then, Nan stuck her head around her door and said, "Hello, Snoozerella, la 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 la." Hearing that always made Maya smile. Nan guessed what was wrong. Maya got up and went for a hug, but not just any kind of hug. A big Nan hug. Nan said, "Let's go get some breakfast and we can have a chat." At breakfast, the king, the queen, Nan, and Maya all sat at the long dining table talking about all the funny places Maya had fallen asleep when Nan suddenly said, "I remember another little girl who had a very similar problem." Everybody looked at the queen and she went bright red. always felt sleepy too. Well, yes, Maya, I did, and I still do, if I don't go to bed early and take naps regularly, but it doesn't always work. The king laughed and said, yes, even on our wedding day, your mom was missing for ages. She had gone to the gardens to get some fresh air before the wedding, and she fell asleep on the bench over there by the tree. They all laughed. Nan started to list the places she had found the queen: on a swing, on a bench, in a bush, in a swimming pool, in the bath, even on a boat. And the funniest one was while she was dancing with your grandpa at a ball. So Maya felt much better knowing that her mom had learned to manage her sleeping problem, because she was an amazing queen who did all the queen things so very well. And if her mom could do it, then she could too. And that was the ending. That one was a little silly. I definitely prefer the Thumbelina one. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. And I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day or night. And I will see you guys in my next video.